Hey, what's going on, everyone? I wanted to take a quick moment to read a interesting article that I found written by one of the orchestrators of the doggy coin pump a few years back. He basically broke down in a PDF exactly how the whales move in the markets, and I thought it was really interesting. So I wanted to read through it. It's a few pages long, but bear with me. There's a lot of really good information in here that I think you guys will enjoy if you are into this sort of stuff. So it starts off. Majority believes that markets move randomly and reflect the collective wisdom of investors. The truth is quite the opposite. The invisible hand is a myth. Market prices has always been manipulated by government's visible hand through influencing law and regulation. Insiders control markets and manipulate them up or down for profit. Manipulation is everywhere, undeniable, and unavoidable. It happens on a very large scale throughout every single financial market out there: stocks, bonds, commodities, currencies, and so forth. There are other types of manipulation, such as social and news manipulation. Hence, I call it the game of deception. Whale watching is a trading strategy of monitoring the trades of the most influential or wealthy investors, known as whales. Whales refers to traders with significant bankrolls that their actions impact heavily on the markets. The purpose of this book is to trade in the shadow of the smart money, understanding how market manipulation works, and become profitable by understanding. Most traders do not understand volume implications and how vital it is in their analysis of any of the markets. Given at any point in time, traders are constantly long, short, holding, some waiting to get into the market, some already in profit positions. Long means when a trader buys. In this example, Doggy BTC, hoping that the value of Doggy will go up against BTC. The short means the opposite. Whenever a trade is entered, the exchange will register this as volume on a continuous, ongoing basis. Volume represents activity and it relates to the price bar on your chart. Chart reflects clearly and is the reason why it is behaving the way it is. Whales contribute to 70 to 80% of the volume you see, which is why it is large enough to alter the direction of a market. I will not go into identifying the traces of a whale activity in book 1, but rather my primary focus would be explaining how manipulation works and the thoughts of a market manipulator. If you know your enemies and you know yourself, you will not be imperiled in 100 battles. And that quote's from Sun Tzu. Individuals trade the market for a purpose, and that is to profit. Many of you are meticulous in entering a trade, cracking your head whether the price you are about to buy or sell is too high or low. Although some might possess knowledge of technical analysis, you are still at a loss in the end. This is quite common, for you have not understood the characteristics of a whale. They are ruthless, swift, cunning, very, very patient, and most importantly, they do not obey the rules of the game. A price will never be too high or low for them. Prices might have soared 100, 200%, and it will never be too late for them to enter. Buy high, sell higher. Sell low, buy lower. To almost everyone, it is simply just a pump and dump. However, the truth is, there are many stages to make a pump and dump successful. The stages include position building, suppressing prices, test pump, the actual pump, shakeouts, reallocation and distribution, and then finally exiting the dump. First, we have position building. There are multiple ways to build a position. This is the stage where we will require a significant amount of market share to do pumps. The most common method will be micro buys. Through placing a buy order in relatively small amounts, it avoids driving up prices and also masking our existence. Some alternate coins, however, have really low amount of volume, and it will take ages to build up our position through micro buys. In these cases, we will be forced to do a pump up to encourage sellers. Pump waves will be gradually decreasing, smaller and smaller, forcing out all sellers so that we can have what we want: market share. This has happened many times, in fact, to date, such as Doggy BTC, Uno BTC, Dev BTC, and GLC BTC. Next is suppressing prices. Contradicting, isn't it? That we are willing to pump altcoins up a few times its value worth before driving down the prices. And yes, like I have stated earlier on, price does not matter to us as long as we can sell higher. However, like every other business in the industry, everyone will want their cost to be as low as possible. In this very stage, we will pile up whatever we have bought, suppress prices as much as possible through our sell walls so we are able to do our buying on the cheap. Our sell walls are usually just enough to appear as though as it's the invisible hands of the market. Minor supply over demand. Next, we have the test pump. Before a real pump happens, whales like us tend to test the market. Why? Reason is simple. It is to ensure that we have absolute control of the market. Test pump, like shakeouts, actual pumps, reallocation, and distribution, happens many times throughout the pump and dump process. By doing a test pump, we will roughly get an idea on where our next resistance will be and how much floating chips are around. And floating chips refers to weak hands. Whales hate weak hands. They do not act as any form of support for us during a pump, and we are always determined to get rid of them in the early stages, no matter how long it takes. Next, we have the actual pump. The term pretty much explains itself. When weak hands are being forced out and they have to gain the market share we expect, we are ready to move. Shakeouts. Shakeouts is a deliberately forced price reaction whose purpose is that of simulating public selling in order to facilitate the accumulation of speculative positions. This is the most aggressive part in wiping out weak hands of their positions. Sometimes during a shakeout, we can be so aggressive that we drive prices so low that it's way below our cost price. But the losses don't matter to us because it's only on paper, and we have enough bankroll to pump prices back up. Individuals who have no experience or are unable to withstand such psychological torture will usually exit the market at this stage. Next, we have reallocation and distribution. Reallocation and distribution usually serves the purpose for us to rebalance our portfolio. In a test pump, we might distribute some of our shares. The logic is quite simple. Sometimes during a pump, buying into our own walls, we buy more than we expected. We have to release a few back to the individual traders. At times, it serves as support and reduces our risk exposure or being a safe trap. What do I mean by that? For example, if we were to distribute to you at $5 and then we were to drive prices back down to $4.50, we will know that the total amount of shares being distributed at $5 will not be selling at $5. Traders tend to exit when in profit and are unlikely to exit with break-even costs. I use the word safe because this is not the part where we will be dumping. There are a lot of reallocation and distribution, like shuffling a pack of cards throughout the entire process, and prices tend to go much higher than the price that you are trapped at. Next, we have exiting the dump. This is usually the last stage, the part where we take our profits and completely exit the market. There are many exit strategies available to us. I will be revealing some of it and explaining. The most common mindset everyone had is that we either microsell or massively dump into buy walls during a dump. These are just the basics. Usually by exiting via this method, it gives us a really bad price to sell at. One of the exotic methods we used, exit during a pump, this works by having sell walls in place and buying into our own walls again and again aggressively until the crowd follows. Once they follow, they will be biting into our walls. Hence, we are able to exit portions of it bit by bits, rinse and repeat a few times, and then we will be able to exit the market completely. Another method is known as exit by putting a sell wall. Well, many of you who follow my trades on Dogecoin Market know that I like having sell walls up to suppress prices and buy doggies cheap. However, I am able to imply this strategy by deceiving everyone into thinking that I am merely capping prices, but the fact is I am micro-selling my way out, exposing and unraveling the secrets behind my pump and dumps. By now, everyone should be very curious, and if not dying to find out how I orchestrated my pump and dumps, especially with Dogecoin. I will give a very detailed account on what actually happened and how I played the game of deception using the art of war to my advantage. I must admit that I got into Dogecoin a few weeks late. That was when prices were trading at about 120 to 140 Satoshis. I started out with only a few mega hashes as GPUs were really hard to get. Prices fell 90 to 80 Satoshis. It appears to be normal to me at first, but something caught my attention. Things were not right. Based on years of trading experience, it seems to me that someone is intentionally suppressing the prices to buy doggies. There are whales playing around with Dogecoin. Well, like many others, I seized the opportunity by contacting my ultra rich friends to be involved in this pump and dump process. Doggy was dead cheap. Everything was right. The increasing growth in subscribers on Reddit, the tipping community, were a perfect condition to manipulate doggy prices effectively. The fundamental factors and elements determine the outcome of a military engagement. A battle is won before it is even fought. All the conditions were met: pricing, volume, the community backing it, and the growth that is gradually increasing. I heavily bought into Dogecoin 26 to 50 Satoshis. I shared my trades on Dogecoin at first. Why? Simple. I am a nobody there, and he's referencing the chat room. I have expected and predicted that no one will listen to a trade recommendation by someone new in there. It will not affect any of my position building, but rather gain me some sort of fame and reputation for future use. While Dogecoin hit 50 to 70 Satoshis, the truth is, I did not own 10 billion Doggy, but rather a mere total of 4 billion. The amount of my holdings I had were overstated so as to aid me in mass my exit strategy in the near future. Now came the part of the Jamaican bobsled team. It was a perfect time for other whales and myself. We signaled through buy and sell walls that we are ready to move. It was a test pump. We wanted to see if the Dogecoin community were gullible enough to think that it was the Jamaican bobsled publicity that had drove Dogecoin prices up. The bobsled team brought value and publicity to Dogecoin, but people are always confused with prices and value. Having value does not mean having a price, and having a price does not mean it has value. In the world of manipulation, we use the news, social networks, all to our advantage. We were right. By driving prices up, the community gave credit to the bobsled team for moving Dogecoin prices up, which is what I wanted. Over a course of a week, I began appearing frequently on hashtag Dogecoin and Dogecoin Market, giving trade calls and announcing pumps. To cut the story short, I turned aggressive, driving prices up to 280 Satoshis, where the crowd bought into my sell walls. I was able to exit near 270, a portion of my Dogecoins. I wasn't done with it. Driving prices higher will put me into a risk of buying Dogecoin high and unable to exit safely. This is the part where I gave everyone on Dogecoin Market a floor, 160 Satoshis, a precise floor that I will support, and 230 as a resistance. I moved prices up and down within this range to gain confidence and support from the community that I am backing it and able to control doggy prices at will. Then came the part of which I need more faithful followers who will ride the waves with me, guarantee a few profits, and act with me. Why? Reason is simple. I sold most of my doggies high and I have lost a significant amount of market share. I need to regain that market share without physically possessing it. The most memorable event that happened during this phase was that 4chan and Reddit laughed and mocked the Molly chain, one of the guys in my private channel. Logs leaked on the internet showed how Molly chain was bleeding at the time when someone big dumped doggies into his BTC buy walls. I had to change a course of action to move doggy down to 170 Satoshis, and with a target price of 130 Satoshis in mind. I forecasted that not everyone will act accordingly, as they have no idea what a short sell is, and that's to sell low and buy back lower. One example in this case, which is Freenode user HINV. The purpose of me initiating this without giving a clear explanation on what we are doing to followers of mine, which hold no knowledge in trading, is pretty clear. I knew and had reports from original posters in my channel that Freenode channel is not secure. Anyone would be able to spoof a nick, that is, on the invite list, to freely enter that channel when the nick is not in use. I took advantage of that again to create chaos and leak logs that I failed in the dump, of which after the dump failed at 170 Satoshis, I drove prices back up to 190. The purpose of this is crystal clear. I need someone to buy into my dumps high while slowly driving prices to 130. To those who are in the private channel, especially original posters such as Random Clown, Tuxedige, Sir Negros, etc., would have clearly known that 130 will be the bottom price. Tainer appeared to be more excited. He had a bet with me earlier on that prices will hit 80 Satoshis, which I told him 130 Satoshis will definitely be a rock bottom. Now remember the part that I have told everyone, that I have no access to investors' funds during the holidays of Chinese New Year for the traders that listen to my orders to buy or sell are away. And the part that I stated Dogecoin will be trading above 200 once Chinese New Year ends? Yep, now you've recalled. Well, I orchestrated another plan, which is to move my people inside my private channel to Uno BTC, for I saw value in Uno and were at a good price to buy at. This serves two purposes. If they are not out at 160 Satoshis and bought in Uno heavily, it'll be less selling pressure for me to exit to my investors' funds. At this point of time, investors holding of Doggy are not yet fully sold. To others, it might have appeared that I used my members into selling Doggy BTC and Uno BTC, but apparently it is not the case. I gave them a chance of buying Uno at a low price, having sufficient time to build up their position for Uno BTC, has much greater potential, and without having worrying that they will be affecting my dumps on Doggy on a later date, killing two birds with one stone. Now, halving date for Doggy is now nearer and nearer. People are gullible and naive, thinking that during halving, their Doggy prices will be worth double of the 280 initial top. They've forgotten that it is us, the whales, that drive prices up. Again, they fell for the deception that I long for. Near halving day, what a perfect day for my dumps. I will have a lot of people that will actively and happily buy whatever I dump on them. On February 12th, I dropped the nuclear warhead. It was what I expected, and I managed to exit my position entirely on Doggy. Sad but true, I used all the bad news on me as an advantage to maneuver and engage the opposing force. And those who lose out in the end are usually my haters, because they are the ones that are arrogant and acted late. People in my private channel know how I trade and usually hold, even though prices are being suppressed or shaking out by me. It is usually the people without patience that lost in the end game. I know that's kind of a long read, but I do think that's very valuable as insight into how some of these other pumps and other social media and news get used in order to manipulate price up or down in whatever direction the whales want. So I hope that was insightful. I hope that was informative. If you guys like this, please drop a like or a comment in the comments below, and we will catch you all in the next video.